Hey everyone, today we're going to be ranking all 34 of the current killers in Dead by Daylight. For this list I'm going to rank the killers worst to best, aiming to have all the player base in mind. A list for everyone, I hope. These are just my thoughts, of course. I am quite experienced, but I would equally say I'm a fairly average player. Thoughts will vary from person to person, and each year this list becomes increasingly harder to do, as the characters become more refined and more added. So let me know your thoughts too, down below. Let's get into it. In number 34, we have Myers. Myers is a character who quite simply is extremely outdated. Built originally for the purpose of being lore accurate, it's resulted in him being quite weak, especially without his stronger add-ons. Myers' power is his ability to stalk, which levels up Evil Within. Evil Within is an ability that has 3 tiers, each tier powering you up. Tier 1 you are slow with a short lunge, but you are undetectable. Tier 2 you become a regular speed killer, but with a 16 meter terror radius. Tier 3 you can insta-down, have a regular sized terror radius and lunge, and a faster vault speed. Myers has a slow start, and is very strong when powered up. He also benefits from being quite stealthy with his small terror radius. Myers can be a struggle to face with him having many add-ons that can alter his kit. Some of them are quite powerful and game-changing, but don't represent his overall power well. Myers has a very slow startup and is dependent on your ability to stalk well. His ability to insta-down, however, is a saving grace, especially with its snowball potential. Myers also has some odd elements like being able to actually run out of power. If you stalk survivors too much, they reach a point where you can't gain any more Evil Within. It's things like this that make him the weakest, but by no means weak in all cases. In number 33, we have the Clown. Clown is a character who has a very simplistic power, with not too much going for him aside his solid chase pressure. Clown's power is his bottles. You have a pink bottle and a yellow bottle. Pink will stop fast vaults, slow survivor movement by 15%, and impair vision, further causing them to scream. Pink is largely effective for shutting down loops quickly, punishing survivors who choose to keep themselves contained within loops. It's also great for closing a long gap of distance, slowing them down so you can catch up. Weakness comes in the form of them being limited to 4 in number, and the cloud only lingering for 10 seconds. A typical counter to this for a survivor is to pre-drop pallets, or leave the loop for another, which are both quite effective. Clown's second bottle option, his yellow bottles, creates a cloud a couple seconds after landing. It briefly remains white and slowly shifts to yellow when in effect. The yellow cloud boosts the movement of anyone who enters it by 10%, and can cleanse the effects of the pink cloud. This is ideally used for quicker movement when traversing the map, or for helping you to reach hooks faster. When paired with the pink, it can close gaps even more efficiently. Clown is lacking in many areas such as map control, and being limited by his bottle number. He does however excel at anti-loop and chases in general, often though this isn't quite enough. In number 32, Freddy. Freddy is undeniably weak, but I think he is boosted by his abilities. Freddy's main ability, his snares, able to be placed and slow asleep survivors who step on them, are pretty bad, often not helping too much depending on the loop. Where Freddy really shines is with the Dream World, a passive ability that puts survivors to sleep and changes your heartbeat for a non-directional lullaby, providing passive stealth. Survivors will naturally enter the Dream World after a short time, but you can also hit them to pull them in instantly. They can get out though through ways such as failing skill checks or locating a clock on the map to interact with. Freddy's best ability though is his teleport, and it's sort of his saving grace. This recharges in 45 seconds, sped up with more survivors in the Dream World. It allows you to teleport to any incomplete gens, and is an amazing pressure tool, and general map traversal tool. He also has his dream pallets available through add-ons, but we don't need to cover those too much. They are there, and they can sometimes work sort of well. Freddy's main strength is the passive pressure of the Dream World, and his ability to teleport. His main weakness is that he's got very few tools to use in chase to catch people more efficiently, especially if the survivor you face knows what they're doing. In number 31, Trapper. Trapper is another case of being fairly outdated and simply falling behind many others. Trapper's ability is his bear traps. You start out with 2 traps at base, and are able to collect up to 8 others around the map. These traps can be set almost anywhere, and are used to lock down areas and catch survivors out. Setting a trap gives a brief boost of movement speed. If a survivor steps in one, they will be held in place briefly, screaming and alerting you. If they escape, they become injured, If you reach the trap before they do, you can pick them up instantly. Survivors can find traps and disarm them with a short animation, and resulting in a loud noise notification. So you do have to be cautious of survivors seeing where you place traps. Trapper benefits from having some pretty decent add-ons, and a power that is slowly being buffed into a better state. Trapper received some good buffs this year, but he struggles a lot still on larger maps, and it can be tricky sometimes to set traps whilst also applying pressure. Trapper is however capable at holding down an area well, and shutting down certain loops. He does also have the potential to become very strong when an area has been trapped well. Definite positives of Trapper, but still outnumbered by the negatives. Number 30, Skull Merchant. Skull Merchant was another tough one to rank because I think she undeniably feels very weak. However, she's also still got some clear strengths. Skull Merchant's power is her drones. She gets 6, and they are used to track the whereabouts of survivors. For each survivor tracked, you gain a stackable boost to haste. Survivors will get detected by drones when running into their radius and walking through one of the circling scanners. If a survivor gets scanned 3 times, they'll become injured, or enter deep wound if they're already injured, and also revealing their location for a while on your tracker. Scanning can however be avoided by the survivor if they stand still or crouch. The main use of her power is to build a web of traps and make sure survivors run through them in order to make use of the potential damage, sometimes allowing you to nearly insta-down survivors. It's also a relatively reliable tracking tool. Her power mainly lacks in being able to do things efficiently, I would say. It takes some time to set her up, and even then, there's a struggle to keep track of everything and monitor all the survivors, especially if they're aware. 29. Legion. Legion are decent still, I think, because they excel at being annoying, a strategy which I do genuinely think works a lot of the time. Their ability is their Feral Frenzy, which is useful for quite a few things. It's a tool to traverse the map, a tool to apply pressure, a location tool, and a slowdown tool. When in Feral Frenzy you run faster, and also fast vault. Hitting survivors in Frenzy causes the deep wound effect, requiring them to stop what they're doing and mend. Each time you hit a survivor, you'll also see all non-deep wounded survivors in your terror radius with Killer Instinct. If all 4 survivors are hit, the 5th hit will instantly down a survivor. Ending Frenzy gives a short stun animation. Missing a swing in Frenzy also kicks you out of the power. Legion's main weakness are larger maps, which can be tricky to use their power effectively on. Often if survivors are spread out, you simply can't pressure them enough. Their power relies a lot actually on survivors playing poorly. Regardless of this, they do have an easy to apply slowdown, which is valuable. They're also able to use their power in chase with varying degrees of success. Number 28. The Wraith. Wraith is a character who has always been okay, but nothing special, always benefiting from his simplicity. He's not complex, and he doesn't require all too much attention to play, but he is okay regardless. His power is his bell. When the bell is rung, you become cloaked. When cloaked, you are undetectable, move faster, and are invisible besides a shimmer, then completely invisible when 20 meters away from survivors. The downside being you can't do damage when cloaked. Uncloaking gives a small speed boost, which allows you to catch survivors. Wraith is great at map traversal and catching up in chase, often making things like exhaustion perks more obsolete. His main weakness is his lack of anything aside his main ability, although his faster movement and ability to catch survivors off guard can often be enough to make chases shorter. This doesn't change the fact though that he has very little going for him. Number 27, Doctor. The Doctor struggles more and more every year, I think. His power is his ability to shock. When survivors get shocked, they scream and it stops them from doing actions of any kind for a brief period of time. It's mainly used to block pallets or vaults in chase. Shocks also apply the madness status, which will cause things such as hallucinations, difficult skill checks, fake pallet spawns, and distorted visuals and sounds. You can pick and choose which you want based on which add-ons you choose to use, each providing a different type of effect. Madness has 3 tiers, ramping up its effectiveness in each. At tier 3, survivors will have actions permanently blocked, making them unable to work on generators, heal, or unhook. They can still, however, drop pallets and vault. To reduce madness, they must do a brief animation where they snap out of it. Doctor also has a slowly recharging terror radius wide shock. It's a good tool for finding survivors or clearing an area. Doctor has minor difficulty in timing his shocks well, but his main downside is that he can be countered fairly easily by running out of range of his shocks and pre-dropping pallets. He does benefit, however, from a great location tool and his game delay ability. 26. Pig. Pig is a character with a very good game delay ability, but not much else. This means that you sort of need to be pretty decent at chases, otherwise you can't ever really even begin to use her power. Pig has a lot available to her. She can become stealthy when crouched, going undetectable. She has her reverse bear traps, which she can place onto survivors in the dying state. These traps activate after a generator is completed and will detonate after 2.5 minutes. Survivors have to seek out boxes and search for a key to release the trap. There are 5 boxes, and they are guaranteed to always get the trap off in at least 4. Sometimes it comes off in 1, others in 4, or anywhere between. She finally has her ambush, an attack available when crouched, which has her growl and then boost forward with a higher speed. It's okay in some situations, but for the most part should be used fairly sparingly. The critical thing with Pig is getting that first trap on, and starting the sort of snowball effect of delaying the game. This is what often makes her fairly weak, is her lack of ability to do much until she has that pressure. Even with this pressure, it's not always a guarantee that it will help a lot. You also need to be there keeping up chase and such too. 25. Trickster. I found Trickster quite hard to place, with him kind of floating between the bottom 5 up to around here. So I am a little unsure of this placement, admittedly. But I think his new version feels a lot like Clown actually, just ranged. Like Clown, he's still a very good chaser. He can be very strong, especially on short and low wall loops, able to fire over them. However, in other areas, he's really lacking. His power consists of his blades, start with 44, and requires 8 hits to damage a survivor, reload at lockers. His blades are still good, although the current requirement of 8 hits to damage can often feel quite frustrating, especially where survivors have a loop with lots of line of sight blocks. It can feel especially punishing when you have so few blades, and they do so little damage. Trickster, however, is now a 4.6 character, meaning he moves at the regular move speed, which does mean you also need to pick and choose when to use the blades and when to just swing. Trickster has a main event ability too, an ability that charges as you land blade hits. This ability lets you release a fast and a higher quantity of blades, making it very hard to dodge, but lasting just a few seconds. The main issue I have with Trickster is there's times when lockers just aren't really there. With his new 8-blade hit requirement, he runs out fairly quickly, so you're often left needing to reload after just 1 down sometimes, which can be quite time consuming. He has some benefits still, and can be strong in chase, but he also has a lot of downsides too. Number 24. Bubba. Bubba, similar to a few others lower down here, falls behind I think due to being quite outdated. He does still have his chainsaw though, which insta-downs. Bubba has a chainsaw, it sweeps when used, and its use time can be extended with tokens, allowing more control over its duration. When a survivor is hit by the chainsaw, they go down instantly. If you hit an object during your sweep, you will enter a tantrum, where you swing your chainsaw around and can barely move. This is a big reason I find Bubba weak. There's far too many maps that he struggles with his chainsaw on. It can sometimes clip on the strangest of things, and other times easily maneuver a narrow passage. It's this inconsistency that I think makes Bubba fall a fair amount. He also lacks in the sense of any map control, and doesn't exactly have good add-ons either to help him out. He does undeniably have a strong ability in his insta-down, especially with it able to sweep multiple survivors at once, recharging fairly quickly. For me though, he's far too clunky and struggles a lot on many maps. 23. Ghostface. Ghosty has dropped a bit for me since last year, I think. I find nowadays it's a bit of a struggle on a lot of maps. With the faster pace of gameplay too, his slower stealth-based style just isn't as effective. Ghosty's power is Night Shroud. When active, he becomes undetectable, and he can both crouch and lean. His primary ability is his stalk. Stalking survivors causes them to become exposed after a short while. Survivors are able to break you out of Night Shroud though if they look at you for long enough, so stalking should be done sneakily. When exposed, they are unable to break you out of Night Shroud and are a one-hit down. His core strength is his pairing of insta-down and stealth. His main weakness is being able to maintain pressure while still being sneaky, which can admittedly be tricky. 22. Billy. Billy is a character who is similar to Bubba in my thoughts of simply lacking a lot, and being greatly restricted by many maps. The difference with Billy is that he's a lot faster and generally doesn't struggle with collision as much. Billy's chainsaw is his power. It insta-downs much like Bubba's when colliding with a survivor. Alternately though, colliding with an object or wall will only stun you briefly and not cause a tantrum. His chainsaw also moves very fast, allowing it to be an excellent map traversal tool. Billy does have his difficulties though. Primarily the chainsaw is hard to learn, I think. Many loops in the game can be a struggle to use your chainsaw effectively on, and sometimes you'll collide with something and it feels like you shouldn't have. His chainsaw is also able to overheat when used too much, although admittedly this is barely an issue anymore with the overheat being very little. Billy's main weakness I think is still map dependence. Billy just sucks on some maps and it feels terrible. Billy excels when he's able to have clear shot areas of space to move between and loops he can actually curve around. Number 21, Dredge. Dredge is one of the strangest characters. It has such a variety of abilities that sort of struggle to work together well a lot of the time. Dredge's main ability is being able to teleport between lockers. It can do this relatively fast and get to most areas of any given map. It can be unreliable though due to locker spawns sometimes just straight up being bad and having completely bare areas. Survivors can also delay your exit from lockers by padlocking them, requiring a longer animation to exit. You can teleport up to 3 times. Dredge also has an anti-loop tool. Holding down the ability button will put you into a phase mode, and leave behind a remnant. When phasing you cannot damage, but you can move about. Whilst in this mode you can float around and press a button to return to your remnant. This ability is good for mind gaming loops, but it can equally be countered with relative ease too, depending on survivor awareness. If a survivor touches your remnant, it will also dissipate, which is something to keep in mind. Dredge's saving grace is Nightfall. This ability will charge passively, but will charge faster based on injures, hooks, and use of your teleport. When fully charged, the map will become very dark for the survivors, and they will only be able to see in their immediate proximity. Moans can be heard and you become undetectable. You'll also now get killer instinct when teleporting, revealing any nearby survivors. Overall, Dredge has a confusing mix of stuff, but it all has value and can work well. I struggle personally juggling his different elements, but it is undeniable it has a lot in its favour. The main downside honestly is just locker placement. Sometimes you just can't teleport to certain points of a map. Number 20, Demogorgon. Demo is a nice and simple killer with its main ability being an extended lunge, paired with a solid map traversal tool. Demo's power is its portals. You get 6 in total and you can place them around the map and teleport between them. They can be destroyed but only if you teleport through them first, where they then become vulnerable to be broken by survivors. They are best used as a map traversal tool and for sneaky approaches onto generators or healing survivors. The core chase ability is Shred. This is a fast moving lunge attack that boosts you forward and damages for a health state. This movement is incredibly quick to charge and execute. It can also be used as a herding tool, faking a shred to get a survivor into a preferable area. Overall, Demo is simple and solid. Its kit isn't flashy, but it does a good job in most areas of gameplay. It's not necessarily weak in any area in particular, but instead just fairly average all around. That's not really a bad thing, but it is still far from the best. Number 19, Singularity. Singularity's power is his biopods. These can be shot out and attached to most surfaces. They act as surveillance points, but they can also be used to tag survivors, which applies a biopod onto them, which is called a slipstream. These can't be used as cameras, however. If you tag a slipstream survivor again, you'll teleport to the survivor's location. You can do this through a direct shot from yourself or through use of a biopod. Survivors can counter biopods and slipstreams by picking up EMPs that will gradually charge around the map. These EMPs will destroy biopods and slipstreams in a set area. After teleporting, you enter a brief overclock mode, where you break and vault faster, and any pallets dropped onto you will shatter immediately. The biopods can be used to survey, but also be used more directly in chase, and don't always need to be used from afar. Singularity takes a lot of effort to play. Keeping up your biopod network is much like a trap character, yet equally you need to act on the information you gather, which can feel overwhelming and a struggle to handle. He is strong and can be very difficult to avoid, but he's tricky to manage and play. This character can be a genuine struggle, especially with survivors who know what they're doing and keep popping your biopods with EMPs, so that's why he's a bit lower. He has very good potential, but to reach that potential, it just requires a lot of input. Number 18, Knight. The Knight is sizably stronger than last year. Knight is a solid character, able to pressure multiple survivors at once, and often shut down loops well too. The Knight's power is his ability to spawn guards. You can summon guards by placing a trail, If a guard draws near to a survivor, they will chase them. Guards can also be used to break pallets or damage generators. There are 3 guard types that cycle through one at a time, each guard having unique effects. The Khan effects can break things very quickly and hunts for a longer period of time. The assassin moves faster and applies the deep wound status when hitting a survivor. The jailer also moves quickly, has a larger detection range, as well as patrol length. The Khan effects will hunt for 24 seconds when entered in a chase, and the other 2 will hunt for 12 seconds. Guards are a great tool for cutting survivors off in chase, or for occupying 2 survivors at once. Survivors can avoid guards by outlasting their hunts, or by collecting these standard shortly after a chase begins. The standard gives the survivor endurance and haste, allowing them to escape easily. Knight can be a very oppressive character, with his ability to be in 2 places at once, and very efficiently shut down loops. It can be a bit hit and miss relying on the AI of the guards, but for the most part they are solid, even if to just distract a survivor. The varying guards also allow for helpful bonuses to gameplay. Con effects can shred pallets, and Assassin can apply slowdown with his deep wounds, for example. Number 17, Sadako. Sadako is another character that is a lot higher than last year. She has a strong kit now, able to teleport efficiently around the map and pressure with use of her condemned mechanic. Sadako has a key initial benefit of stealth, being able to demanifest so she becomes undetectable and cannot be stunned by pallets. Her main power though is her ability to teleport between different TVs around the map. Doing so will cause the survivors to gain stacks of condemned. The only way to lower this is by picking up a VHS tape and placing it into another TV. If a survivor holds onto a tape, their condemned will not progress. Hitting a survivor with a tape, however, will progress them by an extra 2 bars. When condemned reaches 7 bars, you are able to mori the survivor. It's surprisingly easy to do now with her adjusted mechanics. Debatably too easy, I would say. Sadako benefits a lot from this passive mechanic which slowly builds and distracts survivors. Instead of doing gens, survivors have to run off and keep replacing tapes and stuff, especially if you're pressuring well and hitting all the people holding tapes. She also benefits from being able to reach most areas of the map with ease, and also remain pretty stealthy. Her clearest strength is the ability to get around so efficiently. Her main weakness is her direct chase. When you don't surprise the survivor and are forced into a more typical chase, it can be sort of hard at times because you don't have much to work with. 16. Deathslinger. Slinger is another character that has dropped a lot for me. I think more and more he suffers from newer larger maps with tougher loops with strange collision, causing his spear to be hard to hit. He still has undeniable strength in chase though, and is a character that can shut down chases in a few seconds when played well. Slinger's power is his Redeemer, a spear gun that can fire and reel in survivors who are hit. Hitting a survivor with the Redeemer after reeling them in will apply deep wounds. If they are injured, it will down them. If the chain is broken whilst reeling, deep wounds will be applied too. Slinger does require you to have some decent aim, but I would say it's fairly forgiving, and you gain the benefit of being able to damage even when a survivor is out of range, through using the chain break. Slinger's main struggle is his lack of ability to pressure a map, particularly larger ones, and being able to evenly spread pressure, as your power is reliant almost solely on your ability to hit shots. However, he does chases very well and can shut them down in literal seconds sometimes. Number 15, Nemesis. Nemesis is a character I think is genuinely quite strong and is often quite underrated despite his ability to shred through pallets and often even guarantee hits in many areas. Nemesis's main power is his tentacle strike. When a survivor is hit with this, they become infected, which then makes them vulnerable to be damaged by the tentacle. They can remove infection by seeking out a vaccine, which will alert you when a survivor uses one. Each time you apply infection, you tear up your tentacle. Tier 2 lets you break pallets and walls, and Tier 3 will extend the tentacle slightly and increase movement speed when readying it. Nemesis also has his AI zombies. They will wander around the map, ideally passively pressuring survivors. The zombies are able to apply infection on hit or damage already infected survivors. They're also a great information tool, as their auras can be seen from anywhere, allowing you to identify survivor locations based on where they walk or how they path. The main benefit of Nemesis is still his momentum, and his tentacle being a great tool for chase. He's able to easily catch survivors out on window or pallet vaults. His zombies can be inconsistent, but it's better having them than not. Leveling the tentacle can be a struggle depending on the situation. 14. Twins. Twins are a unique killer with lots of small things that make them frustrating to play, mainly in the form of cooldowns, hitboxes, and collision. The potential they have though is high. They have 2 core parts, or 2 people, because twins. Charlotte and Victor. Charlotte acts like a regular killer for the most part, and is able to pick up survivors where Victor can't. Victor benefits from being smaller, faster moving, and quieter, and having the ability to leap long distances, either downing an injured survivor or attaching onto a healthy one, subsequently injuring them and making them broken, oblivious, and incapacitated. Missing a leap leaves you vulnerable briefly and able to be kicked by the survivors. He can also be pulled off by the survivors with an 8-second animation. If left on a survivor for too long, he'll eventually respawn back with Charlotte. Victor can also be used like a drone, with him providing killer instinct, revealing survivors when they get near to him. The twins are tricky, with you juggling 2 characters essentially. It does however mean that you can generally cover more ground, and often end chases faster. Learning to use them both to zone survivors well, and keep active pressure on multiple is tough, but strong. They are mainly pulled down by their clunkiness. They will be getting a rework in 2024, so here's hoping a few things are fixed. 13. Huntress. Huntress excels in simplicity, but has a lot of potential within that simplicity. Her power is her hatchets. You get 5 in total and can reload at lockers. You throw them and they damage for a health state. They can curve differently and move at varying speeds, depending on how long you hold and charge them for. Huntress is a great character and the best ranged character in the game. She's reliable and able to down survivors quickly, as her hatchets can be readied and thrown efficiently. She struggles when it comes to high wall loops and maps lacking longer sightlines. She also has a lullaby, which helps to disorient survivors. Her main downside I would say is locker placement, often feeling inconsistent. Relying on locker spawns can feel rough at times. Otherwise a solid and reliable and simple power, which in the case of Huntress is really enough. She doesn't need anything too flashy, the hatchets work perfectly fine, they're strong enough to carry her alone I would say. Number 12. Hag. Hag is a character who is ever dropping down the list for me, but is still good I think. Her ability to hold down an area is pretty unmatched, with her trap power being oppressive and hard to break out of once trapped within. Hag gets 10 traps. She scratches them into the ground, where they can then be triggered by survivors moving close by. When triggered, a phantasm of the Hag will spawn, blocking a route, and likely shocking the survivor. When triggered, you can also teleport to the phantasm and take its place if you were within 40 meters of it. If you teleport as it's triggered, you can consistently guarantee a hit. The traps can be crouched over to be avoided or scratched away if a survivor manages to find them, which is mainly the reason for Hag's lower placement nowadays. Her traps are still undeniably strong though. You can deny loops, block pallets, and quite easily catch survivors within your web of traps. Hag is very good at holding down an area, able to teleport about and injure very efficiently. The main difficulty for her is learning how to place traps and maintaining the traps when set. Sometimes that setup period can be quite punishing. However, with a good setup, this often doesn't matter nearly as much compared to someone like Trapper. In 11, we have Pinhead. Cenobite is another character who's sort of too hard for his own good, and many of his abilities being a relative struggle to get used to. He has a range of challenging abilities and some frustrating elements to his power. Cenobite's primary ability is his chain shot. This is a chain you can summon and then fire, your POV moving to the chain as you do this. Hitting a survivor with a chain shot causes them to become bound by 3 other chains, hindering their movement until they break them with a short animation or with use of the environment. This is best used to shut down loops or catch up some lost distance, although you do need to be very precise, so it can be a bit of a gamble because there's a good chance you miss at a long range. Cenobite also has the Lament configuration, or the box. The box will spawn throughout the match in a part of the map, favouring to spawn at a place where no one currently is, which requires some general game sense therefore to try and figure out its spawn location. If the box is left unsolved by survivors for 90 seconds, it will start a chain hunt. Chain hunts can also start if you find the box before the survivors. Chain hunts cause chains to spawn constantly around survivors until the box is solved, or you find it, moving the box once more, retaining the chain hunt and revealing survivor locations. If a survivor solves the box, the chain hunt timer is reset. When a survivor solves it, you do get the chance to teleport to their position, auto-completing the box for the survivor, but getting you up and close. So a bit bit of a trade-off. Keep in mind though that you can also stop the solve if you're close enough and are within distance to chain shot them. Cenobite can be really strong when you chain together chain hunts. His chain shots, although difficult, can also be strong anti-loop tools. He is undeniably difficult, with lots of tricky mechanics and lots of precision needed, but strong if you master him, and even strong if you're just okay with him. Like I am. Number 10, Xenomorph. Xeno is a character with a lot going for it, having a system to traverse the map efficiently, but also has a very good power to use in chase and to shut down loops with ease. Xenomorph also gets passive stealth when entering its power mode, or crawler mode, reducing its terror radius to 16 meters. In this mode it crawls on all fours and can jab survivors with its tail, which acts as a long-reaching ranged attack, able to easily hit over vaults and windows. Xeno can further crawl into tunnels around the map, moving very fast when in them and able to crawl out of any of the openings. Whilst down there, you'll also see the footsteps of nearby survivors above. Survivors can counter your crawler mode by using flame turrets. These can be picked up from above the tunnels and placed down. If they burn you for too long, you'll be kicked out of crawler mode and become a basic killer essentially. Xeno is very strong regardless of the flame turrets though, which can still be fairly easily broken and avoided. It has a great ability to traverse the map, and has a very strong ability in chase that often feels unfair at times when getting hits. A very strong character. Number 9. Oni. Oni is a character that is very strong but has one main fatal flaw, and that's his early game. His power is his Blood Fury. You can charge Blood Fury by injuring survivors and absorbing the blood that they drop. Blood will drop more frequently when they do actions. Once your power bar is filled, you can activate it, resulting in being able to run quickly and insta-down with a slam attack. Unlike similar insta-down powers, you're also able to glide off of the environment, allowing more effective movement. His power is simple and strong, and the main difficulty is the early game, when you have no power. Blood Fury also won't fully charge passively either, so you have to get a hit to get your power. Survivors can counter this by dropping pallets early, for example. Oni is a character able to down multiple survivors, maybe faster than anyone else. His ability has some difficulties, but are quite simple beyond the initial learning point, due to the fact that you can run right into objects without suffering stuns, and are able to glide around loops, making him an effective chaser, and able to mind game even when using that power. Number 8. Chucky. Chucky is our newest addition to the realm, and quite a strong one to be honest, with his fast-moving stealth power. One benefit Chucky gets right off is his height. The fact he is small makes a genuine difference when it comes to chases and catching survivors off guard, alongside him being the only killer with a third-person perspective. Chucky's power is hidey-ho mode. In this mode he becomes undetectable, and fake footsteps appear map-wide to trick survivors, paired with the sound of feet. In this mode you can also use the slice and dice ability, which allows you to boost forward at high speeds, attacking upon release or after a set time. Vaulting during this dash will also extend it. Alternately, you have the stealthy route and can crawl under pallets. Chucky is incredibly good at getting close sneakily and getting multiple hits with his amazing dash ability. His main drawbacks come in the form of his slower base movement speed and the fact that sometimes your height can work against you and tracking can be a little tough. Overall though, Chucky is very strong. Number 7. Plague. Plague is a great character with a very unique kit. Plague has the benefit of making almost all healing related things obsolete with her power. Her power is her Vile Purge, a stream of vomit that can be charged and shot out in a sort of spray. It moves in a fairly unique way, which is one of the main difficulties of learning her, I would say, is learning how to handle this new projectile. Hitting a survivor will cause them to become infected, which will progress over time until fully active, where they will be broken and unable to heal. The more vomit you land, the quicker this process is. They can only rid themselves of this effect if they cleanse at a pool of devotion. When a pool is used, you then get the option to absorb the pool, giving you your corrupt purge, the red vomit. You'll also start the game with one corrupt pool already. This red vomit acts as a ranged regular attack, damaging for a singular health state. You can also infect survivors by vomiting on generators, pallets, and other interactable things. Plague's ability is great as it makes survivors louder and easier to locate. This makes chases far easier, giving you information on their position, but also shortening them simply by the fact that they're injured. When a healthy survivor saves an infected one, they will also also become infected, so it's sort of a constant knock-on effect. Plague is great and I think is simple to get the hang of once you understand how the vomit works as a projectile. Nowadays, with perks like Dead Hard not appearing as much too, it means having survivors constantly injured is honestly just a really good thing. She is able to easily wipe a team when they are all injured. Her main difficulty, I would say, is just managing to infect everyone, and also the vomit projectile is unique, so it can be a little tricky to pick up. But for the most part, she is really strong and has such high potential. Number 6, Pyramid Head. Pyramid Head is one of the best equipped killers in the game, with a range of strong abilities. Like some of the earlier characters, he can feel a bit overwhelming. His main power is his Trails of Torment. You drop your knife into the ground and create a trail. Survivors who run over the trail become tormented and are revealed with killer instinct. They can crouch over to avoid them. His secondary ability is his ranged attack, which can be fired through walls, damaging survivors it connects with. It's very strong for stopping survivors from vaulting certain areas, and making loops generally more dangerous for them. When a survivor is tormented, they can be sent to a cage instead of a hook. Cages are essentially the same as hooks, but unlike hooks, you can send survivors to them immediately from the ground. However, you won't know where they went until they get saved, where you'll get a noise notification. Cages are good for bypassing perks such as Decisive Strike. Survivors in their final hook stage and tormented can be moried. This all leads to a very strong character with a lot going for him, able to cut down time in many areas and also efficiently chase and debatably tunnel without consequence, which is pretty strong. His main weakness, I think, is some struggle on multi-level maps, and also his ranged attack being a bit tricky to pick up. The potential he has is so high though. Number 5, Wesker. Wesker has all the aspects needed for a strong killer. He is an efficient chaser with a great movement ability, he has built-in slowdown and game delay. Finally, he's able to traverse and pressure a map effectively. Wesker's power is his Virulent Bound. It has 2 charges and moves him forward quickly. If it catches a survivor, Wesker grabs them and throws them. This will infect them and also damage them if they collide with an object. When infected, they are required to seek out a first aid spray to cleanse themselves, or otherwise eventually suffer from a reduced movement speed, and the ability to be insta-downed if caught by a bound. This ability is strong in chases and can be used to maneuver most loops. You can also use the bound to vault windows or pallets, often allowing you to catch survivors off guard. Wesker is not very map dependent, and his slowdown makes even bigger maps an easier experience. Similar to other characters up here, he isn't overly add-on or perk reliant either, and his base power is all he really needs. Number 4, Spirit. Spirit, I think, continues to drop down the list ever so slightly, and it's in part down to the game becoming faster, and her being actually kind of slow, I think. She can still undeniably shut down loops efficiently and end chases extremely quickly. Her power is her phase ability. When phasing, you are invisible to survivors. You can't see survivors, however. You have to locate them based on sound and environmental cues. This is another reason she's a little lower for me. Relying on sound isn't entirely reliable. I personally struggle to hear certain movements sometimes. Regardless, her power is strong as it requires survivors to be quite acutely aware of what's happening. Lacking visual cues as a survivor makes it quite hard to face Spirit. She does have a few tells though, such as a directional sound cue. Spirit is a bit quicker when phasing, but to be honest, I do think she lacks in the areas of map control and generally map pressure. Her power takes a decent time to recharge, so you have to choose when to use it carefully. Number 3, Artist. This may be a bit of a hot take, but the Artist has a very strong ability. Her power is the Dire Crows. She has 3 in total and can fire them after placing them. The crows can move through any object, moving in a straight line. If they hit a survivor, they will swarm them, revealing their position. The survivor can get rid of these crows by repelling them, which is an 8-second action that will stop them from interacting with anything else. If a swarm survivor is then hit with another crow, they will be damaged for a health state. If close enough to a survivor and within the highlighted white aura, the crows can damage with just a single hit. Crows are a great anti-loop tool, but also information tool. You're technically able to check any area on the map with these, abilities, and even again, technically damage. Even a near miss to a survivor will highlight them with Killer Instinct, so you at least know they're there. She can locate survivors with ease, shut down strong loops, and pressure multiple areas at once. The crows will also replenish quite quickly, making hits possible most of the time. Her main struggle is maps with more than one level, but this isn't too much of a restriction. Number 2, Blight. Blight is a character with next level movement and map traversal. Blight's main power is his rushes, which you get 5 of. When rushing, you move faster and can collide with objects to extend your rush, each extension consuming a token. All rushes beyond the second allow you to also swing as you run, damaging survivors. This power is strong in its speed but also accuracy. It allows precise movement around loops whilst also being incredibly fast. Blight can also traverse the map very quickly, allowing him to locate and apply pressure with ease. He also has multiple strong add-ons. The main difficulty of Blight is that he can be tricky to learn, and especially master. A large part of learning him is also learning map layouts and loops, which is good to always have, but essential for Blight. Number 1, Nurse. Nurse is likely always going to take this top spot with her ability to blink through walls and floors, allowing her to bypass many of the resources and tools survivors have to counter killers in the first place. Her power is her blinks. She has 2 blinks, each one allowing her to phase forward in a fluid motion, adjustable based on how long you hold it for. After blinking, there is a short window to swing and hit a nearby survivor. This is a very strong power that covers all bases needed to be a strong killer. The cooldowns are short, and the power allows you to get pretty much anywhere and be almost unavoidable. There can be struggle potentially in predicting survivor movement, but this is something that can largely be adjusted to with time. Unlike other characters who are weak due to maps or lacking good add-ons, maps don't really matter for Nurse, and she doesn't need add-ons. Nurse can be tricky to learn, but once you have the hang of her, she's quite simple and insanely powerful. Alright, well, that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed, and be sure to drop your own ranking too down below. Thanks, and goodbye.